Welcome to another edition of What Barrie's Talking About from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakeley. On this week's program, another homeless encampment in Barrie has been shut down. We talk with one of the individuals who had been calling it home. City of Orillia getting ready to honor Gordon Lightfoot and celebrating 15 years of Gilda's Club in Barrie. We get the conversation started after this. Another homeless encampment, this one on Bradford Street in Barrie, was cleared this week. Eviction notices handed out Tuesday, bylaw moving in Wednesday. Some have taken advantage of services and accommodations being offered, some haven't. Barrie 360's Ian Maclennan had a chance to speak with 58-year-old Bill before he headed back to the Salvation Army to get a clearer picture of life inside such encampments.
When did you come to the encampment here?
March 31st.
So you came to the encampment March 31st. How did you end up here?
Well, due to staying at the Sally Ann, they had me in a bunch of programs, housing, etc., placement, County Simcoe. But when March 31st came, there wasn't nothing there. There was no opportunities to be had.
So you had to sacrifice your bed and space there?
No, I just ran out my time. So I had been there from November till March, and my time was up, right? But even though I was there from that length of time, there was still no possibilities for placement at that time, right?
So you were looking for a space, you were hoping to get one. How did you hear about this encampment, or what brought you to this situation?
Well, I had a friend that was already staying here, and he seen me out freezing my butt off in the cold. So it was still spring, it was still pretty cold actually. And he said, just come down to my tent. So that's how that happened.
Straight up, because the mayor has said, not all encampments, but there's a lot. He describes lawlessness, drug use, take away that double homicide that occurred in the Ann Street encampment. What is the environment like in a place like this? And I guess it depends on who's staying here. And
well, this was a very, very small camp. There was 3 buildings. And up until the mayor claimed lawlessness on the town, that's when all of this happened. And then the druggies and everybody else from the other encampments that he's shut down, right? Because they've heard about people staying behind here, right?
So was there
it's a safe
drug? Was there a lot of drug use, or just without naming names?
No.
What brought these people here?
Not here, not at this encampment. Not a lot. You know what I mean? There's weed and stuff like that, right? And your usual meth, but not any hard fentanyl or the other crap that they smoke.
Who were some of the people with identifying them? What brought them to this encampment? I talked to one gentleman who said he was looking just for odd jobs to make a buck.
Yeah, well, I have no idea about the other people because I try not to associate with and drag their problems into my life. But I've been a contractor. I've worked all summer, right? So I was building a restaurant for a fellow here in town. As a matter of fact, I got to go see a contract right after this. But it's not that I don't have work. It's that I don't have sufficient amount of regular hours at work. Do you know what I mean?
And are you impacted too by you've been maybe house hunting and affordability? How is that holding you back from getting a roof over your head?
Well, when you only get a street allowance of $346 or whatever it is now, and then you're working 3 days a week, maybe 2 days a week, you're not going to be able to sustain a house. You're not going to be able to sustain anything at $1,400 and $1,600 for a 1-bedroom now. Nothing.
So where are you? Where are you staying now? What are your accommodations?
I ended up going to the Salvation Army. Unfortunately, I got a bed there.
Oh, so you did get a bed again?
Yeah. So they're helping me out now. So that is good for me anyways, but the rest of these people, I don't know what they're going to do.
The mayor has said that data that he's suggested that a lot of people who are in these encampments aren't from Barrie or Simcoe County. Should that matter to the city? And what's your background if you want to share that?
Well, I'm not from the city either, if he wants to get to that point, but who is from this city? Most of the people I even meet down by the lakeshore aren't from this city either. So if he wants to get nitpicking, there's a lot of people here that aren't from the city. I have no idea about most of the people in this camp, but I can count 5 of them that are from the city, and the other 3, I'm not too sure.
But Barrie's also the largest municipality in Simcoe County, so to speak, though it's a separated city. So people, do you believe, are coming here because this is where the services are?
I guess they could say that, but speaking from being in the system, there's not a lot of services. Like, there just isn't, and not enough for everyone. Like 120 beds for the supposed city that they're putting up for the homeless, and I'm pretty sure there's like 500 people homeless in this town.
And accessing services, the mayor has said, he wants people to get compassionate care for addiction treatment, whether it's drugs, alcohol, what have you, or mental health. Yeah. How big a component is that in the homeless community that you have seen?
Wow, good question. It's a large part. Once they get here, like, nobody wants to really work. The issues aren't where they should be. Like, you have people in this camp that get here, then they're not in the workforce no more. They don't want to go work because they're going to lose their $300 welfare check if they do. So they end up spending most of it on drugs.
So drug use is very prevalent?
I believe so, yeah.
How much of that is just because they don't want to work, or there's other underlying issues that these people may be dealing with too?
I think it's mostly depression more than anything else because of the state and where they're at, because you can't get any more bottom than bottom of this, right? Like, this is it.
City of Orillia gearing up for Lightfoot Days at the end of October. A couple of the organizers, Brian Hare and John Winchester, stopped in down the hall here to set the stage for Craig Ross and the Rock 95 morning crew.
If you could read my mind, love.
John, start off by telling me about this festival and what it entails.
Happy to do so, Craig. Back in 2013, on the occasion of Gord's 75th birthday, a good friend of ours who was the founder of the festival reached out to a few people in Orillia and said, let's do something to honor Orillia's favorite son. And so from 2013 till probably 2018, they had Lightfoot Days Festival in Orillia. They would often have some tribute artists. They had some Gordon Lightfoot tribute bands, and every now and then, if Gord was available, they would have the Lightfoot Band as their headliner. And they encouraged the stores to basically do things Lightfoot related. Well, that got shut down with the pandemic. 2 years ago, as you mentioned, we lost Gord, 2.5 years ago almost, and on the occasion of his death, Karen Hilfman-Milson, who was our founder, reached out to Brian and myself, Daphne Main Prize, Steve Porter, and Mary Hoykus, and said, do you think it's time to relaunch the festival? And so that's when the five of us came on board. So
here we are.
Here we are.
Well, let me ask Brian, because you've been with this festival since the beginning. If you want to get nice and close to the microphone, did you find that the last year or so, there's more interest since he's passed away than when the festival first started?
There's some mixture on that.
Yeah.
Gord was an Orillia boy, always came back to Orillia and that. So on his passing, it was a sad day and everything. But people are still interested in him.
Yeah.
We push do the festival. We have a lot of people come from out of town. It's amazing how far his fame stretched.
And people, he's known worldwide. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think that's important when we have a hero like that, to really kind of lean into that, the fact that he's one of ours, right? And celebrate him the way we can, especially when they're not with us, right? So what does this actually entail? You've got bands coming, you've got tribute artists and whatnot. Tell us a little bit about the festival itself.
Well, it's a 4-day festival, as it was last year. On the Thursday night, we have the Lightfoot Band.
Okay.
And, of course, the stand-in, as he calls himself, Andy Mock, is the new lead singer, new rhythm guitarist. But the rest of the band, Rick Haynes, who played with him for over 50 years, Barrie Keane, Rick is the bassist, Barrie Keane is the drummer. Mike Heffernan has been the keyboardist since the early 80s. And Carter Lancaster, that new guy, has been the lead guitarist since the passing of Terry Clements in 2011. And so this is the Lightfoot Band. There are a lot of really impressive Lightfoot tribute artists and tribute bands out there, and they are good. but there's nothing like the Lightfoot Band. So on the Thursday evening at the Opera House from 7:30 until about 10 o'clock, they are our headliner.
Yeah, they must have some stories too.
That is the really neat thing. I saw Gordon a number of times when he was touring with the band, and you know the way it would work. Gordon had a very set way of doing things. He was the only one that talked on stage. And as Brian can tell, when the Lightfoot Band are up there, it's a very different feel to it.
Yeah, for sure.
They all contribute stories as to, you know, when they were on the road and how they were introduced and how they did things with Gord, because he had his way. So like Edmund Fitzgerald, the drummer, was sitting there and he goes, "I'll tell you when to come in," and he's sitting there and the song's like going on and you're into like the third verse and finally Gord gives him the nod. And he goes, "Oh, now I play."
That's extra value to the concert when you get those kind of stories for sure, yeah. So when are the dates again, and how can they get more info about it?
Well, the dates are the 30th of October to the 2nd of November. Now, we have a website, and the website is lightfootdaysfestival.ca, all one word. And that Lightfoot Days Festival website links to our social media, which has Instagram, it has Facebook, and we also have a dedicated Lightfoot Days Festival YouTube channel, which have, among other things, video and audio from interviews that we've done. And so that'll be happening on the Thursday evening. Friday, which is the 31st of October, we have
Halloween, spooky.
I know.
Just saying.
In the afternoon at 1 o'clock and 2:30 at Creative Nomad Studios, right across Mississauga Street from where the Opera House is, we have a couple of interactive sessions.
Oh, cool.
Last year they were called workshops. We're calling them interactive sessions. And all 5 members of the Lightfoot Band will be there. Plus, seeing how this year is the 50th anniversary of the sinking of the Edmund Fitzgerald, we have an author from Michigan called John U. Bacon. John U. Bacon has a book called The Gales of November, The Untold Story of the Edmund Fitzgerald. And he's interviewed over 100 family members from the people who were on the crew.
Yeah.
And it basically is going to be one of our features.
That's a cool guest.
It is a really cool guest.
Yeah.
And then Friday evening, Brian can talk a little bit about our Memories event.
The Memories event is, again, a workshop style. I shouldn't say workshop. Very informal, where we have the band and that, and special guests who are going to come in, and they talk about Gord, just as if, almost like a kitchen party, where it sits down, it's very relaxed, everybody talks about things they did with Gord, things that people never knew about Gord, because, you know, he was in the public, but very out of the public.
Sure, yeah.
For family life and whatnot. And we're hoping that his nephew Steve Ayers comes, and because he did participate last year, because he would show up with Steve has a group, Steven. And he would literally show up, whether we'd be playing, sit at the back, and then he'd come up and play a couple of songs, and then he'd say, "Oh, you're here to see Steve, not me," and then he would leave. So people would show up, you know, going, "Oh, is Gord going to be here?"
All right, make sure you check it out. It is lightfootdaysfestival.ca, going down October 30th through November 2nd. Get out and celebrate a local hero, Gordon Lightfoot. Thanks, guys, for coming in. We appreciate it.
Thanks very much.
Celebrating 15 years of Gilda's Place in Barrie, offering care and services for those stricken with cancer and their families. Here again is our Ian Maclennan with Executive Board member Penny Dara and Sharon Smith from Connect Hair Studio, the thrust behind the annual raw and reflective calendar that raises funds for Gilda's.
First off, tell us about how this calendar came to be, and how many years are we talking now?
Well, this crazy calendar idea came to me about 8 years ago when I was sitting on a plane and these ladies across the aisle were celebrating. They had just raised $11,000 for breast cancer awareness. And when I asked them how they did it, they told me that it was through a naked calendar. And then I had this huge aha and said to my husband, that's it. We can move forward with this idea. I won't tell you what his reaction was, but he was like, here we go. That was 8 years ago, and we are so proud to announce that we've just created our 7th edition of the RAW, being the implied black and white photos of people in implied naked, and reflective being their stories, reflecting their lives, and words of hope and encouragement. This initiative has provided, over the last 7 years, almost $130,000 for Gilda's Club Simcoe Muskoka.
And is there a theme to each calendar? I know this year says clarity, so maybe you could explain that?
Yes, every year we have a different theme, from time to courage to connection to motivation to purpose to grit, and now clarity. And clarity, I think, really reflects on your own personal feelings about what clarity is to you. I continually find my clarity on a daily when clients sit in my chair and they share their stories. And sometimes these stories haven't been shared with anybody else at all. I'm in a profession where I'm lucky I'm able to touch people. And for some reason, when you touch people physically, they tend to open up. And they will say things like, I haven't told my family, but I'm dealing with cancer. And so I'm able to suggest that they get the free support that's offered at Gilda's Club. Clarity can be anything from see me, hear me, what is my purpose from my own perspective or from the model's perspective. It's a very personal reflection.
The fact that the models are not wearing clothes and everything is strategically placed, I'm just wondering, though, there's a bit of vulnerability there. Is that kind of like cancer too? I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on that.
Well, as a representative for Gilda's Club, we certainly hear all kinds of stories. And what's most powerful is sharing those stories, that vulnerability, that rawness. And there isn't a way to get more raw than how the raw and reflective people have captured this each and every month. Removing the clothing, removing the barriers, I think it links to clarity, and it links to the rawness and the vulnerability of the story. So each cancer person who's on their journey can relate to each other, and it just brings together this sense of community that's so important for Gilda's Club and for our membership.
And that's what Gilda's Club is about too. It's been 15 years now. It has been in Barrie.
That's right. Gilda's Club celebrated this week our 15th anniversary here in Barrie of the Red Door being open, and we have been so blessed to serve thousands of members in our community who are on a cancer journey. And it's not necessarily the patient themselves, it's also their family or any loved one who's impacted by cancer. We're really there for them at any part in the journey, whether they're a child or an adult. Gilda's Club has programming that can certainly benefit you, and all the programming is offered free of charge, and largely in part to our community partners like the Raw and Reflective Group, who from their hearts and their own volunteer time go out and develop a project like the Raw and Reflective Calendar. It greatly benefits our community, so we're very thankful.
You don't get any government funding at all, or very limited?
That's right. Gilda's Club is unique. We're unlike other charities in our area. Many charities are eligible for government funding, and Gilda's Club isn't in that category. So every dollar we raise to service our members comes from the generous donations of individuals, corporations, and third-party groups like Raw and Reflective, who from their own hearts, their own sense of giving back, are very generous to share with Gilda's Club.
Now, Sharon, you dive right into the deep end and hear these stories, and I'm just wondering, now it's been 8 years, just what do you take away from it too?
Oh, they move me. They inspire me. My most magical moment in the calendar actually is the evening that we launch it at Gilda's Club. I watch all of these friendships evolve. I watch models connecting with other models, and they're using each other as a support. And then they're meeting again at Gilda's, and the photographers getting to know. It gives everybody insight, and it's really very moving. And I just get so excited. I look like a little kid at the fair clapping my hands because it's magical, the connection, because we need to be heard. We need to be seen. And these men and women who haven't known how to navigate this suddenly feel empowered, and they feel a little bit stronger. And I think that kind of positivity actually really helps with the healing aspect of dealing with horrible, horrible cancer.
And with Gilda's Club, I mean, when there's a cancer diagnosis, I guess everybody's on the road, but then it takes different directions in terms of treatment and prognosis. And how does Gilda's Club help out there? And let's use, say, a child, for example, that's dealing with a family member, a parent that has cancer.
Yes, we do have programming aimed directly at children, and we have a camp, and it's called the Noogie Land Camp. We have evening programs. We hope in the future to have weekend programs to help benefit children. But through the summer, we had many children attending camp where they can come in and express themselves through play, through art, through the community of being with other children. And we're very, very lucky on our staff to have highly qualified social workers and mental health experts to really design programming targeted at benefiting the children and the adults who are impacted by cancer.
And in terms of the disease itself, you know, the research and treatment, people that you go back to, example, Terry Fox, who passed away from a specific type of cancer. People now with that type of cancer are living longer, if not, you know, a full life. So the dollars and the research, it's making a difference.
It's absolutely making a difference. And we've really added some impactful programming called Facing Forward, because for many, cancer can become something they live with, but they live with it a long time. And so you have to redesign, what does your future look like? How can I face forward and embrace life to the best within my health journey? And so there is programming designed directly to benefit those members.
I've been told that a lot of people who've had the diagnosis and, you know, they're over their treatment and moving on, that they come back to Gilda's Club or looking for an opportunity to volunteer, and they don't want to leave the house, so to speak.
Absolutely. I do find that there are a lot of people within our community that want to help. They just don't know how. So that's my job as the captain of the ship to say, well, I've got a job for you. If you could help with the distribution, with the advertising, with the promotion, sharing the posts, all kinds of different ways that people can help us without actually just laying money out, so that this initiative can be successful and can move forward.
It's a very warm environment in Gilda's Club. It's being in there once before, I felt like I'm in my grandmother's kitchen. And with the smell of the food and people just, you know, cooking and talking, it becomes a social, I mean, is it an opportunity for a person who's got a cancer diagnosis or family member to escape that sort of situation too, where they can just focus on living?
You're absolutely right. You know, not only do we have psychosocial programming, but we provide an atmosphere for joy and for laughter. And that really comes from our namesake, Gilda Radner, who was a comedian. Her career is largely remembered through Saturday Night Live. And that when she was facing her own cancer journey, she was looking not only for that psychosocial support, but needed to keep joy and laughter in her life. And our membership is heard throughout our clubhouse, and they are laughing and they are finding that sense of community with one another. And I agree with you, it does feel like your grandmother's kitchen. It's a very, very warm environment.
And if people want to get involved locally with Gilda's Club or want more information, Sharon, maybe you can assist that.
If they would like to purchase a calendar, they are welcome to do so at either Connect Hair Studio on Burton Avenue, 274 Burton Avenue, at Gilda's Club. We also have Superior Tire and Auto, which is on Yonge Street, who have volunteered to help distribute the calendars. And there's also an online link if you go through the Gilda's website. So there's lots of different ways that you can purchase it. It's $25. And every purchase really does count.
And that's our program for this week. Thanks to Ian and Craig for their input, to Matt Ladder for his technical expertise, and to you for listening. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe to What Barrie's Talking About, rate it, review it. You can also keep up with What Barrie's Talking About on Blue Sky and X at Barrie360, on our website, Barrie360.com, and there's our daily Kickstart podcast, available from any streaming service and on our website. I'm Dan Blakeley. Hope you'll join us again next week.